This week, if you opened up your web browser or opened the newspaper, very likely you saw pictures of rockets landing in Gaza and in Jerusalem. Perhaps you also saw the picture that I did of the journalist from Palestine who was walking out of his home, his place in Gaza that had been hit by a rocket, carrying the body and the shroud of his infant son. We come together today and we hear again and again these apocalyptic images of what transpires in the world. We hear Jesus talking with the disciples about what both has happened and what is yet to come. Nation rising against nation. Wars, famines, destruction. And we come into this space, lifting up our hands and saying, where is the good news? Where is that will draw us beyond the loss of life and the destruction, the rockets flying, the poverty and the hurt? Where is God in all of this? We come to this place wondering, perhaps wondering in our hearts, but also working to vocalize, to name that which is there before our eyes. We work to understand where God is and where God is leading us. As we hear and as we listen to the news, I am drawn to this line from Hebrews about the idea of coming with our confession of hope. A confession of hope, not a confession of faith. That we as people of faith come into this place, that we live our lives in an understanding that we are offering something into the world. That there is a hope, there is something that leads us from darkness and despair into a new way of being, a promise, a hope, a vision that is always before us. Now think with me for a moment about the placement of this text in the context of the gospel. Jesus comes out of the temple. A significant event. And we know that in the temple, Jesus has done some pretty miraculous and also challenging things. It was in the temple as a youngster that he sat and taught the priests. It was in the temple that he turned over the tables of the money changers. It is from the temple that he walks out and looks over Jerusalem, saying, look at the large stones, look at do you see them? Do you see them? The disciples, I'm sure, are looking at him saying, well, duh, of course. They're huge buildings, they're huge rocks, they're right there. How can you miss them? And Jesus saying, not one stone will be left on another. There is something there. That we know upheaval is about to change, that upheaval is about to happen, that life is about to change. And here in this place and in this time, we know as those who are the audience for this gospel, for this good news, that Jesus is entering those final days, those final times in which it will appear that death and destruction and the powers of the empire will have the final word. As readers, we know that. What is before us is the tomb and the cross. And so the question being posed to us as we listen to this gospel is, are we willing to see something on the other side of that? Are we willing to confess our hope? That the armies and the rockets of this world, that the poverty, the oppression, of this world will not have final say. But rather, as the rocks are turned over, as the buildings lay in waste, that there is one who guides us beyond into a vision of hope and new life. That becomes the dwelling place for us this day. And that doesn't mean we abandon what we are feeling. It doesn't mean we abandon those deep fears and pains and tears that we hold. It doesn't mean that we abandon the joys and the celebrations, the anxieties or the frustrations. That as I talked with the children, I also recognize that we as adults need to hear those same words, that we come with all that we are and we offer them to God. Say, we don't know where all of this is always going, but we know that you are there with us and you call us into a confession of hope. That there will be something beyond this in our lives and in the life of the